The prelude. Isn't Carmella a fucking idiot? She won, sort of, the Money in the Bank contract on Sunday, and she immediately saw Daniel Bryan tweet his displeasure at the way she did so. She then had two opportunities to cash in that Money in the Bank briefcase at Money in the Bank itself when she came out during the title match and at a house show for SmackDown Live on Monday evening, and she did diddly squat all about it, even though she knew little goat man Daniel Bryan was really unhappy and probably going to take it off her. Why didn't she do anything? I don't know. I'm King Ross, this is my Hiem, and these are all the WTF moments from WWE SmackDown Live. Why are we in my house? Well, I've been kicked out of the studio once again because Adam and Adam have to film a best of 7 series, which is more important than me because no watches these anymore, so who gives a shit? So we have Jinder Mahal as WWE Champion, a call on the face that seems to be universally unpopular within the WWE Universe, and we are days removed from a big old you of a pay-per-view in the form of Money in the Bank. And what's the result of these two things? This, a dwindling crowd of people that are pissed off with your booking calls, WWE. Just give us something to be happy about and we'll come back in droves, I promise. Look at the state of that. Half the arena cordoned off, the top tier on the other side cordoned off, nobody's happy. That means people are turning off. I know this because my own ratings are dwindling. I have presumably disillusioned an entire portion of my audience with a plethora of catchphrases and humour, which means, as you've seen this week thus far, I have reverted back to the angry sweary type that brought me to the dance in the first place. Please watch us again and tell your friends to do the same. Ain't we seen enough sign held by an infant? First of all, you little know your role, get to the merch table and buy those bastard headbands and put them round your arms. And second of all, this is a really weird time to take a scene enough sign to a WWE SmackDown Live show because John Cena's never there. He's gallivanting off doing movies and award ceremonies and shit that none of us real human beings care about. I tell you what you can do with that signed little infant child. You can turn it sideways, stick it straight up your cabriolet and take it back to 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, and then things started to turn in 2015 with John Cena's perception within the WWE Universe. But those years I've mentioned, that's when we had seen enough. That's when we were sick of John Cena winning every pissing match. Take that sign back then and get with the script, bro. Now, Tom Phillips cannot have been serious when he introduced Byron Saxton, of all people, as Byron Saxton, the Insider. You can't take a nickname just because it sounds cool whip and apply it to your own person when it makes absolutely no pissing sense. Just look at me and Sexual Wankfest and it all makes complete sense. And anyway, there's a chance that Byron Saxton is the biggest outsider that is in the wrestling business since both Scott Hall and Kevin Nash hung up their outsider jackets and whatnot, because nobody wants to be associated with that cringe bag Byron Saxton. He's not an insider, he's more than an outsider. He's an it, let's not think of something clever. Byron's just and shouldn't have that nickname. WhatCulture sign, lovely. Wasn't that Carmella promo that kicked off the show fantastic, even if it was, albeit a tad redundant, because as I explained at the top of this house, she could have cashed in her briefcase and avoided the wrath of Little Goat Man. Second of all, Carmella claimed that her name has been trending worldwide for the last 48 hours, and I'm just here to say, no dear, your name hasn't been trending worldwide for the past 2 days. James Ellsworth's name has, because somehow he wound up being the first woman to get her hands on the first ever women's Money in the Bank briefcase. A groundbreaking moment, a moment that would live in infamy for the rest of time, was won by a man. You see, what WWE don't realise in having Ellsworth scale the ladder, put his hands on the briefcase and become the first woman to put their hands on a women's Money in the Bank briefcase, is that they put all the heat on that booking decision rather than putting the heat on Carmella, who was supposedly being a heel using underhanded tactics to win the match. She wasn't doing that, she was spark oot thanks to a Becky Lynch powerbomb. James Ellsworth had to do it because Carmella was incapable, and that image of a man being the first woman, I don't care if I'm repeating it, it's so wrong, it's untrue, being the first woman to be the first ever f***ing hole. Oh, f*** this shit. And the proof in this proverbial pudding was proven later in the night when Daniel Bryan was cutting his promo, and when he mentioned the Money in the Bank match itself, that got a louder chorus of boos than when he mentioned Carmella's name. My point has been proven. WWE, you f***ed up. Another hole in Carmella's promo was the fact that she brought up a number of other examples of people interfering on behalf of other people to cost other people the Money in the Bank contract. The only problem here is all of those people were the same gender and therefore had some right being in that match. And the thing which is roughing everybody up most of all is the fact that the first ever man's Money in the Bank ladder match ended cleanly with Edge doing a dastardly heel thing of hitting Chris Benoit's arm. Benoit was down, selling his arm. That opened the door for Edge to go up the ladder and claim the briefcase for himself. Why couldn't that have happened for the women? That's why people are disgruntled. Carmella, that argument is as valid as James Ellsworth's birth certificate. The other WTF moment from Carmella's promo here was the moment where she claimed that she was intelligent despite the fact, and I know I'm going over the same shit over and over again, but it's fucking true, isn't it? She had 2 chances to cash it in, she didn't. She knew Daniel Bryan wasn't happy, and just as we all predicted, Bryan took the fucking briefcase off her. I tell you what, when he did that, she had more than egg all over her face. The fucking tool. I've never seen scenes like this before. Did that young girl ask to touch Kofi Kingston's shoe? What the f is going on here? I guess you could say it's a shoe day. Yes, it is. Just after Carmella won the match on Sunday, Daniel Bryan got all Bertie Big Bollocks. He thought, f this, fight the power. I'm going to announce that I'm going to do something on Tuesday. My bowels are root. Suck on them if you will. However, when he arrives to SmackDown Live on Tuesday, 48 hours after that ballsy tweet, he's in 2 minds. What's happened in that period of time for Bryan's bowels to shrivel up into his goat-faced cheeks? Now, of course, naturally, I had this point all mapped out before James Ellsworth took to the ring and cut a promo on Bryan to his face. But I don't want to say fatherhood has made Daniel Bryan soft, but of course, fatherhood has obviously made Daniel Bryan fucking soft as shit, gooey shit that you saw in the intro. Don't you just love the intros with King in them, don't you? That intro with this shit will stop those comments. Anyway, back to the point at hand. Why is Bryan turning up to SmackDown Live, hearing what all the women have to say, and then reassuring the women that a decision will come soon enough after 2 days of leading everyone to believe he had one thing on his mind and he was going to come to SmackDown, shit up and do it? What a blue balling... I need to stop talking about bollocks. A big plot hole on SmackDown Live evolved over the past couple of weeks while a group of women are fighting over an opportunity to have a shot at the Women's Championship. Lana has twice now proven all you have to do to get a shot at the championship is avoid all the nonsense involving the entire roster. Just walk up to the champion herself and vaguely abuse her without really abusing her at all. Naomi's temper is so short, shorter than Hornswoggle, that even when you don't really say anything to her, she'll give you a shot just to prove that you are wrong. What a hot heat. Lana is very intelligent. Unagi. Randy Orton saying that he'd head over to India to beat the f out of Jinder Mahal's entire family might just be the most racist thing said on WWE television in a very long time. And why? F off, Simon. Here's why. As we all know, us educated folk, Jinder Mahal is Indo-Canadian. The origins of his family can be traced back to India, but that does not mean that he himself and his immediate family are actually from India. His ancestors certainly are, but Jinder himself, he was born and raised in Canada, as Wikipedia says. And of course, as we all know, anybody can edit Wikipedia, which means you're always getting the best source of information. I hope by saying this comment, Randy Orton hasn't just seen Jinder Mahal's skin colour and assumed he's from India. I hope he's dug a little bit deeper and done a little bit of research. Who knows, the Mahals might have got sick of Canada and headed over to India to start a new life. Who knows, that might have happened. Let's hope it did for Randy Orton's sake. In WWE's financial reports, they have to report television revenue and WWE Network Revenue as separate entities. Why then are those f***ers clinging onto bare straws and claiming that Money in the Bank was the most social show on Sunday in comparison to TV stations that their network isn't even in competition with? When something new goes up on a streaming service, compare it with that. Compare your streaming service with another streaming service. But in the meantime, do not waste our time with meaningless bollocks where you're just trying to make yourselves look better than you actually are, with evidence that is more see-through than Lana's Russian accent. Soz Lana. Tamina. I love you, but your accent's shit. So Chad Gable, as we learned on this week's SmackDown Live, is still living in student halls despite the fact that he is a globally travelled, world-famous WWE superstar, and most importantly, despite the fact he's 31 years of age and not a student. Bit weird that, isn't it? His schedule certainly indicates that he doesn't have the time to be studying, so why the hell's he there? Let's have a think. Why could Chad Gable, a single, presumably, 31-year-old non-student, be living in student halls? It must be the cheap student gyms, mustn't it? It's got to be that. Yes, Chad, So finally, eventually, Daniel Bryan comes to giving his decision on the future of the Money in the Bank contract. He then explains that he's been told by his higher-ups to stick to the rule book, and then further explains that Carmella did nothing to break any rules in the rule book, because as we all know, Money in the Bank ladder matches have no rules to break, and Carmella on Sunday didn't break any rules. Despite all of this, Bryan let emotion get the better of him and made a call that took the rule book, shoved it straight up his own cabriolet so none of us could see if he was telling the truth or not. He was told to make a decision based on the rules, explained the rules, and then made a decision based not on the rules. Even if it was a decision we all wanted, his rationale and what he had been told by his higher-ups made his call make not a lot of sense. Something tells me that when Shane McMahon comes back, he'll tell Bryan, I told you to make a decision based on the rules, but you didn't do that, Bryan. Let's have a fight. Maybe not a fight. Let's have a verbal argument. I feel sorry for Tamina, the useless sack of shit. WWE never gave her the chance to cut a promo in front of an arena audience. So when it came to cutting a promo in front of an arena audience on last night's episode of SmackDown Live, she made an utter fool of herself by getting her delivery so wrong it could be comparable to Pete Tong. Charlotte tells Natalya if Natalya doesn't shut up, she's going to make her look like Jimmy Ellsworth. And don't you go to the comments and say, oh, King Ross got James Ellsworth's name wrong, because Jimmy and James are the same f***ing thing. Tamina followed that little bit of shade up by telling Charlotte that if she didn't shut up, she was going to look like Ellsworth, but her delivery was so wrong that it just sounded, in turn, so wrong. All Tamina had to do was put a bit of emphasis on the you and the your, and she would have been fine and dandy. I tell you what, Charlotte, if you didn't shut up, you are going to look like, you see me acting. Luke Harper Hawkins spit straight into the front row, even though he wasn't looking for any modicum of heat. What is this? WCCW from 1983 on steroids? I've never seen anything like it. It appears that Luke is just spitting at fans now for the bants he gives zero f***s. Luke, I know people are always comparing you to Bruiser Brody, but you're not actually him, and this isn't actually the 80s. You can't do shit like that anymore. Not that you should be doing shit like that anyway if you are actually a heel, which you are not because you're a face. And I'm just rambling just to kill some time because I want to die. And that's it for all these WTF moments from SmackDown Live. Not that it matters, of course, because my viewership figures are so shit these days. None of you f***ers watch these anymore. There wasn't SmackDown shit last night. No John O'Clock moments, no fashion files. I have a gaping void in my life the size of James's giant peach. F*** off.
Weast your pie holes, you dirty, sweaty marks. You think you're a smart mark, do you? A smart, is it? Then answer me this simple wrestling question. From which African country was Carmella Builders coming from? No, you're wrong, because you are a sweaty mark. The answer is Uganda. Improve your knowledge and test your bastard self with the new WhatCulture Wrestling Trivia game, available now at shop.whatculture.com. Sweaty mark.